In the last video, we learned that using loops can make your code much more efficient by reducing the number of lines you have to type, especially when repeating commands. And if you remember, in our last program, we used a loop to make a square by repeating steps 4 times. But what if you wanted to make a program that made lots of squares? One way to solve that problem is to just copy and paste your loop. So let me give you an example of that. First, I'm going to introduce a new turtle function called goTo. And what goTo does is it actually moves the turtle to a new point on the screen. So if I use the turtle command goTo and I just type the coordinates in the parentheses, so the turtle goTo 200, 200 will move the turtle to point the x coordinate of 200 and the y coordinate of 200 on the screen. And then I'm just going to go ahead and copy this loop and paste it underneath. And so what should happen is it draws one square, then it goes to a new point on the screen and draws another square. And let's go ahead and see that happen. You can see it's drawing. It was here, it then goes to a new point on the screen and makes another square. So that's one way to make 2 squares. Notice, however, that it does draw a line as it moves. In one of the upcoming homework assignments, you will have to write a new way to do that so that the line is not drawn. But we'll get to that later. So what we need is a way to create multiple squares without having to copy and paste a loop each time. And Python and most other programming languages have a way to do that, and in Python they're called functions. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a function to make a square. And think of a function as like a blueprint or a set of instructions for doing something that you can call again and again and again. So let's go ahead and erase this, and we're going to go ahead and make a square. So the syntax for writing a function is you write the words def, which is define, and then the name of your function. And again, your function should be descriptive to what it does. So I'm going to call mine make a square. And again, the more descriptive you make your function, the easier it is for people who are reading your code to see what it does. And then you put parentheses and then a colon, just like a loop ended with a colon. Function definitions, the first line of a function also ends in a colon. So I'm going to hit enter, and now I'm going to write my instructions for making a square. And again, we'll just use our loop. So we'll do for x in range 4, turtle forward 100, and then turtle left 90. And there's my function definition for making a square. So let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. I run turtle practice, and it's a blank screen. So where's my square? Well, it turns out that all we did is define how to make a square. We didn't actually tell Python to make a square. And the way you tell Python to make a square is you just write the name of the function, make a square, and you can see that PyCharm will pop up what it thinks you're trying to type. So I'll write make a square. So now let's go ahead and run this program. And you can see, just like in other programs, it makes a square. And now I can do a turtle goTo 200, 200, and I can write make a square. If I run that, it should do exactly the same thing as my previous program. It makes a square, goes to 200, 200, and makes another square. So same result, but less lines of code. And now anytime I want to make a square, I just type the make a square function. By combining both functions and loops, you can start to make some pretty interesting designs in Turtle. I'm going to delete these lines here and leave my make a square function. And I'm going to type another loop. I'm going to do for x in range 18. Okay. So this is a loop that's going to happen 18 times. And I'm going to make a square. And then I'm going to have the turtle turn left 20 degrees. Okay. So it's going to make a square, then turn left 20 degrees, make another square, turn left, and let's see what that looks like. drawing a square, it's turning, and you can see every time it rotates 20 and then makes a new square. And hopefully you can see at this point the reason I chose 18 times is that 18 times 20 is 360, which means it's going to make a complete one circuit all the way around. So it should make a nice pleasing pattern. And there we go. It makes kind of a nice star pattern. And the one thing you also may have noticed is that was pretty slow. So the last thing we're going to do is try to speed that up. The way I'm going to do that is with a command called speed. So I'm going to set the turtle's speed to 100. And let's see what that looks like when we run it. You can see it goes much faster. So if you have a very complicated drawing, you can increase the turtle's speed and it will go much faster. The last thing I want to say is that when you are defining a function, you have to make sure that you don't call the function until after it's defined. Let me show you what that looks like. So I've defined my make a square function here. If I try to call it above the definition, you can see I have a red underline, and it says unresolved reference. That means it does not know what make a square means yet because it hasn't been defined. As the way Turtle operates is it goes through line by line. First imports Turtle, then it sets the speed, then it tries to make a square, but it doesn't know how to make a square yet. So if I put it under the function definition, now I don't have the red squiggly line because I've already defined it. So if you see that you're getting an error with your function, make sure that you're calling it after you've defined it. In the next video, we're going to talk about what you can do if you want to make squares of different sizes. Right now, our make a square only makes squares of one size, 100 pixels on each side. So next time we'll modify that.